We almost had this feeling that I got when I came in here this morning. We had this sense of belonging, of something deeper and more meaningful than team. And I think that if we want to work well into the future, we have to make this shift. This shift that's so small that I don't even think at times we can see it. A shift so small that I would call it just a 1-degree shift at the root, at our gut. A 1-degree shift I would call is the smallest viable change that we can make to get us to where we're going next. See, I've heard a lot of talk and I've done a lot of research on the future of work, and I've realized and come to learn that there are 2 things that people hate. Number 1 is change. Number 2 is the way things are. And unless we can make these 1-degree changes, the smallest viable change to get to where we're going next, we're standing still and we're falling behind. The shift that we made, shifting from team to community. So that's what I did. With my company 5 years ago, we built a tool that quantified workplace culture. We surveyed thousands of people across the country, into the States, into the United Kingdom. We interviewed hundreds of leaders about what it was that made their workplace great. And they found what we already knew, that a best place to work universally doesn't exist. A place that you might love, I might find to be toxic. And that's fine. But what we realized, if I can summarize everything in one line, is that people cared more about how they felt than what it was that they did. People care more about how they feel than what it is they do. So what I want to do today, over the next few minutes, is just give you 3 takeaways, 3 things that we can do, 3 1-degree shifts that we can make to build a greater sense of community. Again, we're not rocking the boat. We're not looking at substantive change. There are 3 little adjustments that we can make today to get into the future and work well into the future. The first shift is to focus on who we're attracting and not what. When we can focus on the individual and not just the skills, I say skills are still important, requirements are still important, experience is still important, but in many cases it's not the differentiator. When we can focus on who we're attracting, I think great things can happen. I was in Philadelphia last week, and I looked on LinkedIn, took a screenshot, at how many accountants there were in Greater Philadelphia. Does anyone want to take a guess? Nope, me neither. It was pretty daunting. I found there were 37,603 accountants. Now look, highly trained individuals, professional, respectable, innovative. There's no slight to accountants whatsoever. But what I realized is that you can be an accountant at a golf course, for the Philadelphia Eagles, for Deloitte, for one of your organizations if you had a Philly branch, and what you do as an accountant is very similar from place to place to place. But the life that you live as a result of these places of work could be vastly different. See, my friend Emma, I live in Vancouver. I flew in from Vancouver last night, and my friend Emma had broken up with her boyfriend 2 years ago. Difference of interest, no big deal. She loved hiking, he loved Xbox, no problem. She did 65 hikes 2 years ago. I got on a couple with her. It was great. I love hiking, no problem. But then when she broke up with him, she started to do what statistically 60% of us do, and she went on to online dating, went on to Tinder, Bumble, Match, Plenty of Fish, whatever it might be, and started swiping. She was looking for what? She was looking for a male, roughly her age. That's what she's into. And as she was swiping, this is kind of what she saw. Guy after guy after guy after guy after guy. Sure, they fit what she was looking for, but after date after date after date after date, it wasn't happening. She was getting frustrated. I think we do this with talent, by the way, too. We're looking for skills. We're looking for what? We're looking for skills, requirements, education. Do they have them? Yes, but they come in, they're not a good fit. I said, Emma, why don't you go somewhere where you're connected to? Why don't you focus on who you're trying to attract and not just what? I said, go to the hiking club and see who you meet. Last year, they got engaged. Her and the president of the hiking club. They went on 75 hikes last year, and they couldn't be happier. Why? Because she started focusing on who and not what. The second shift that I wanted to share with you today is to embrace the polarizing. Embrace the things that make us unique. So often we talk about this innovative culture that we provided, that we're welcoming, that we have this sense of belonging, but we don't actually talk about what it is. We're scared and worried that we don't have the dogs running around in the ball pits like Google does, that we don't have nap pods, that we don't have flexibility and freedom or something like that, like other companies might. And what I want to suggest is that, okay, that's fine. The things that we aren't, might I suggest, are the things that make us what we are. We don't have to have the working conditions of other organizations. We have to be true, authentic, and transparent about what makes us different. Because when we can tell a better story proactively, we can attract and retain better talent. We can work well into the future. Take Zappos, for example. Anyone familiar with Zappos? Online shoe retailer out of Las Vegas. Year over year over year, they were always on one of the most engaged company lists. When I called them, I said, hey, you guys aren't on the list this year. What happened? They said, we have a lineup of people so long out our door that are looking for a job that these awards now do more harm than they do us good. I said, okay, well, what's it like in Zappos? How do I understand this sense of community? She showed me this video. I want to show you real quick what it's like behind the curtain in Zappos.
He's talked about work-life separation or work-life balance, and for us, our approach is really to focus on work-life integration, because at the end of the day, it's just life.
The Zappos culture is unlike anything else I've ever seen. We joke that it's happier than Disney.
It's like a family. It's like this big family, and we're happy to see each other. We come to work, we enjoy it, and we have fun here.
Company culture is our main business strategy. It's the #1 priority of the company.
I think that we've always felt that competitors could copy our selection, they can copy our shipping, but one thing that could never be copied was our company culture.
Zappos. There you have it. Who wants to work at Zappos? See, I wouldn't be caught in a 10-mile radius of that place. I mean, I'm a millennial. I'm supposed to be all about fun and games and streamers and antlers and ferns and all this stuff. There's not a chance. I'd get 5 minutes of work done in that place. But see, what Zappos has done so well is they've understood the people in the community that would thrive in that environment. They've embraced the polarizing. And that's great, because when I'm looking for a job now, I'm not applying there, because I know that that's not going to be a place for me. I'm looking for something more traditional. I'm even fine with a cubicle. That's great, because I can get my work done. I can be part of my team there. So what I want to suggest is that we treat our organizations and our teams like cilantro. Yep, cilantro. Not a mistake, not a typo. Work with me, quick show of hands. Who in this room loves cilantro? Okay. Who hates it? There's some like real enthusiasm, I love it. Let's try another one. Who loves black licorice? Okay, who hates black licorice? Yeah, me too. One more. No, maybe 2 more. Who loves, does pineapple belong on pizza? Oh, jeez. Maybe this is an Eastern thing. Any no's? Okay, well, we're fine then. No, don't worry about it. Let me try one more, and this is going to be a bit of a stretch. Who dips their French fries in their milkshake? Oh, we got a couple crazies. Awesome. Yes. Emphatic yes. Okay, here's what I'm suggesting. When we embrace the polarizing and we understand our cilantro components, that's when we can attract the right people. Because if this entire room applied to a position because they're qualified, great. But what we're looking for are those people who like to dip their French fry in the milkshake. I'm not saying that literally. I'm saying what are the values, what is the environment, what is the actual space that these people can thrive in. The second thing that I want us to do today is to embrace the polarizing. And the third thing that I want us to do today is to give everyone a paintbrush. To have this feeling that we had this morning in this room, I think is truly incredible and can't be taken for granted. When we feel like we belong and we're part of a greater community, we simply do better. I read a book lately that was called The Courage to be Disliked. I thought it was an interesting book, and the line that I pulled from that book was that the root of happiness is a sense of contribution. And in a world that has never been this distracted, that has never been this noisy, that has never been this busy, I think the more we can make people feel like they matter, the better we can create the sense of community. Indochino, in the midst of what is considered a retail apocalypse where thousands of retail stores across the country, across the United States have closed, Indochino has opened 50 stores in 50 months. Absolutely incredible. I had Drew Green on my podcast. I said, Drew, how'd you do it? He said, I trusted my team in ways that I've never trusted them before. I've given them more responsibility, not necessarily more work, but more responsibility. I said, how do you build trust? He says, you give it first. Unbelievable what a small 1-degree shift can make to an organization like Indochino. See, when I look at giving everyone a paintbrush, what it really says to me is how do we get people to come together and get to know who we are outside of the job title? Because when we trust each other off the court, we play better together on the court. When I look at an event like this, when I look at people coming together, yes, it's work, and it's an ability for us to come together 6 times a year, Laura, if you're here. But on an incredible day like this for the next 2 days, I encourage you to keep that energy up, to keep connecting and meeting with new people, because this is what I think will allow us to work well into the future. They're not big turbulent shifts, they're 1-degree shifts that allow us to build a greater sense of community, belonging, trust, and fellowship. See, today I talked about 3 little shifts, focusing from what we're attracting to who. And when we can do that, we can build a greater sense of community. When we embrace what makes us unique and realize that a universal best culture doesn't work, but a best culture for us can work really well, great things happen. And when we get to trust each other off the court or outside of our job titles, and we come together and build a greater sense of community, we can get to where we're going faster, just like we did in Europe, just like we do in our teams. See, a 1-degree shift isn't that much. But in 1972, the last time we landed on the moon, it was a 400,000 kilometer one-way journey, 12 days, 800,000 kilometers total. Had that space shuttle been off by 1 degree at takeoff, we would have missed the moon by 2,100 kilometers, twice the diameter of the moon. So what I would encourage you today to do is to make those little shifts. Understand not what's happening here, what our knee-jerk reactions are, but what is our gut saying? How do we build a better sense of community? How do we give each other time and space? How do we come together to get back to the future of work? And when we do, I can assure you that our best days are yet to come. Thank you so much.